Okay, John Boston, Boston Style Racing. Today I've removed the throttle body off of 2014 Camaro, and I'm going to do a little bit of cleaning it up, porting. You can see it's got this lip right here. Yeah, it's real big lip. And I'm just going to smooth the transition from the edge to the blade area. We're not going to do anything with the blade area because maybe all of us know that that'll change how much air goes through when the throttle thinks it's closed. That'd be a bad idea. Things won't work out so well. What we're going to use here today is we have carbide burr. It removes a lot of material quickly. That'll take down anything we need. Just got to be real careful to keep it moving. Don't leave it in one spot. It'll dig a big old hole you'll never get out of. Then we're going to move to a cartridge roll. This one's used. It's just like sandpaper on a little spiral mandrel. And that removes material a lot less quickly, but does a lot smoother job to it. And to really smooth it down, we've got like a sandpaper flap wheel here. These will make a pretty smooth deal. And we're not going to want it polished, so I won't go into polishing. I'll probably leave it roughed up with this kind of grit here when I'm finished, because you don't always want it super polished pretty for the best performance. So I'll just dig into it and see where we go. Okay guys, now you can see I've removed that little lip, most of it. See, I left a little bit. See the dark, you can see the dark line right there. When porting, you can use textures, you can use colors, you can use a lot of reference points. You can see I haven't removed that completely there, but that's my reference line there. So I'm just going to grind the rest of that away until I can no longer see that reference point, and then I know I've removed that ridge that stuck up both from the inside and from the outside. That was a ridge that just stuck up no matter which side you were hitting it from. And then we'll proceed from there. I'll probably enlarge the opening here just a little bit. Not so much for enlargement's sake, but because the hose bolts on the outside of here, obviously. And then there's this big huge lip. I'm just going to ease that edge a little bit and then blend that in to where I removed that ridge. Easy edge, blend in. Okay, that's all I'm going to remove from the edge. It's deceptively thin because it has this lip here on part of it. See, there's a lip right here. Right here it's smooth. So that makes it look like you have more material to work with than you do. See, it's smooth all the way around here. So right here it starts to have this little lip. I have no idea what for. Maybe it's to help hold the boot on there. I don't know, but why? It only goes from here to here. This part over here is flush or even less than flush. You know, it's like inset a little bit and then gets wider as it goes down. So yeah, you don't want to, you cut this too thin, and then you try and bolt the hose on there, it's going to have cracks, and yeah, you're going to bust the whole thing. It's going to suck. Not worth it. So yeah, that's as thin as I'm going to go. And now you can see, let's see, yeah, you can see the dark line inside here, right there. That's the area that hasn't been touched yet. So now I'm just going to go from my external thickness and blend this in smoothly all the way around here. That's my next step. Okay, now see I've smoothed all of it from my edge point into here. You can see a little bit of a line there. There's like a huge dip there. I'm not going to blend from this to that because I'll cut all the way through. It's just too thin right there. We don't want to cut all the way through it. And also you'll see another area near the top here that I've avoided, because that's where the blade sits when the motor's off or at idle, and we don't want to mess with that area because you don't want too much air coming through when the throttle thinks it's closed. That'd be a big mistake in my book also. So that's all I'm going to do with the carbide burr. I've removed all the material I want to around here. Next I'll just smooth it down a little bit and do a little further blending with a less aggressive cutting tool. Well guys, as often happens when doing a project, you get started and then you realize, oh gee, why didn't I do that? I noticed that the electrical connector for the throttle body was getting some metal shavings in there, so I cleaned it out with a little piece of toilet paper and put some masking tape over it. You can see I've started roughing out the edge all the way around, and I'm not going to make it down to, you know, where it's knife edged or anything. I'm going to leave some meat there. I'm just going to ease it a little bit, like I said. And you can see once again, see the dark line in there. You can see that's an area that hasn't been addressed yet. Use color, texture, whatever as a reference point. And still working with the carbide burr. Let's see if we can see in there. Probably not. There's the screws that hold the throttle plate in on the spot here. See, I've removed the end of this screw, not the business end, the extra end that sticks out. See, this one here is still there, and I'm going to cut this shaft down. I'm going to thin it. I've never done this before on a throttle body because I usually work on motorcycles where the stuff's a lot smaller, but I was reading about it and sounds like a real good idea to me. That's a good way to get, because you can't mess with the blade area where the blade contacts the throttle body. You can't enlarge that. You're going to screw up. Your velocity, everything's going to suck. That's designed by the factory for a reason, and just don't screw with it. But cutting this shaft down, you know, making that a little thinner, that can add some more full throttle velocity, or flow, not velocity, but flow volume that you can't gain any other way that I can tell. So I'm going to cut that down a little bit, and then I'll switch to the less aggressive cartridge roll to do my blending on the rest of the stuff. But yeah, let's see how this turns out. Okay, you can see I've removed a decent amount of material here. Hopefully you can see it pretty well. It's hard to get. When the blade's open, it's all in the shadow, and I can't hold the camera steady enough and hold that in the light at the same time. But yeah, I've removed quite a bit of material there, and it all turned out okay. So now we'll finish smoothing, and I'll get back to you. Okay, now we're just about finished up here. See, I smoothed all of that. You can still see that line. I wasn't willing to dig deep enough to get rid of that. There wouldn't have been enough material and it would have been too thin. Sometimes when you're porting, you have to decide, am I really going to dig out enough material to remove that? Same with this line right here. It had a really gross, it just comes in straight and then it goes into some kind of contour. They've got a contour here. It waves in and waves out and then waves back in again. And while I did expand the inner edge of this a bit, because the intake manifold that it bolts onto back here is quite a bit larger in diameter than this thing is. So I expanded it quite a bit, but I just wasn't willing to take it out all the way. See here, there's plenty of material in this case. It's really thick at that point, but you know, who knows what they had that there for. Could be a reason, could be not a reason. I didn't think it was worth removing all that material to find out and gain a half a horsepower, you know, whatever. And then you want to make sure you get it good and clean. You know, I've taken and brushed off. I held the blade open, brushed everything I could. Get all the excess metal. You don't want to suck all that back into your motor. That'd be a bad plan. Now I'm going to take some engine cleaner and maybe some WD-40 when I'm done, maybe not, and just spray it all out and make sure that I get all the metal out of there before I bolt it back on. And that's how you port a throttle body. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I've got another video that shows how to remove the throttle body. I'll put a link to that, and do me a favor, guys, subscribe and like this video. I've got a lot of other porting videos. I do motorcycles, mostly sport bikes. You name it, I can port it, man. This was just a real simple little thing that I've been wanting to do for a while, and I had some time, so here it is. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, one final note here. I just went on a test drive. You know, a lot of mods that you do, you kind of wonder, gee, did this make a difference or not? Well, this made a real difference that I can feel. You know, they say that adding a ported throttle body will give you, 1 to 3 horsepower. Well, sure, I feel like I've gained some power for sure. But it's not always about the numbers. It's about how it runs, how it drives. You know, car, motorcycle, how it runs, how it drives. This definitely is freer revving. It feels, it's more willing to go. It's a real worthwhile project. You know, I took my time. I stopped and took breaks to make the video, and it took me about 3 hours taking my time. You know, and I'm always here to help. If anybody has a question or whatever, shoot me an email. wfofz1@hotmail.com. I'll help anybody work on any project. I'll answer any questions that anybody might have. Thanks for watching, guys.